Part One of Fables in Slang by George Ade. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Gregg Margarite. Part One of Fables in Slang by George Ade. The Fable of the Visitor Who Got a Lot for $3. The learned phrenologist sat in his office surrounded by his whiskers. Now and then he put a forefinger to his brow and glanced at the mirror to make sure that he still resembled William Cullen Bryant. Near him on a table was a pallid head made of plaster of Paris and stickily ornamented with small labels. On the wall was a chart showing that the orangutan does not have Daniel Webster's facial angle. "Is the graft played out?" asked the learned phrenologist as he waited. "Is science up against it, or what?" Then he heard the fall of heavy feet and resumed his imitation. The door opened and there came into the room a tall, rangy person with a head in the shape of a rocky Ford cantaloupe. Aroused from his meditation, the learned phrenologist looked up at the stranger as through a glass darkly, and pointed to a red plush chair. The Easy Mark collapsed into the boarding house chair, and the man with more whiskers than Darwin ever saw stood before him and ran his fingers over his head, tarantula-wise. "Well, well," said the learned phrenologist. "Enough benevolence here to do a family of 8. Courage? I guess yes. Dewey's got the same kind of a lump right over the left ear. Love of home and friends, like the ridge behind a bunker. Firmness, out of sight. Reverence? Well, when it comes to reverence, you're certainly there with the goods. Conscientiousness, hope, and ideality. The limit. And as for metaphysical penetration, oh, say, the metaphysical penetration right where you part the hair. Oh, Laura, say, you've got Charles Eliot Norton whipped to a custard. I've got my hand on it now. You can feel it yourself, can't you?" "I can feel something," replied the human being, with a rapt smile. "Wit, compassion, and poetic talent, right here where I've got my thumb. A cinch. I think you'll run as high as 98% on all the intellectual faculties. In your case, we have a rare combination of executive ability, or the power to command, and those qualities of benevolence and ideality which contribute to the fostering of permanent religious sentiment. I don't know what your present occupation is, but you ought to be president of a theological seminary. Kindly slip me $3 before you pass out." The tall man separated himself from 2 days' pay, and then went out on the street and pushed people off the sidewalk. He thought so well of himself. Thereafter, as before, he drove a truck, but he was always glad to know that he could have been president of a theological seminary. Moral: a good jolly is worth whatever you pay for it. The Fable of the Slim Girl Who Tried to Keep a Date That Was Never Made. Once upon a time there was a slim girl with a forehead which was shiny and protuberant, like a Bartlett pear. When asked to put something in an autograph album, she invariably wrote the following in a tall, dislocated backhand: "Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal." That's the kind of a girl she was. In her own town she had the name of being a cold proposition, but that was because the primitive yokels of a one-night stand could not attune themselves to the views of one who was troubled with ideals. Her soul panted for the higher life. Alas, the rube town in which she hung forth was given over to croquet, mush, and milk sociables, a lodge of elks, and 2 married preachers who doctored for the tonsillitis. So what could the poor girl do? In
Sample complete. Ready to continue?